One of the things most enjoyable to me as a seminarian was getting to serve in a number of different parishes throughout the Archdiocese. A couple of years ago, I served at St. Patrick's Parish in Kansas City, Kansas. I was involved in a number of ministries, and one of the more rewarding ministries I found was visiting the homebound of the parish. One parishioner that stands out was a man named Ted. Ted was in his late 50s and had been a detective on the police department. He was athletic. As a young man, he played football and baseball. As he got older, he took up golf and tennis. Ted was homebound because he had Lou Gehrig's disease. Now, just so that we're all on the same page, Lou Gehrig's disease is one in which a person slowly and over time loses control over his or her voluntary movements. A person with this disease will eventually end up in a wheelchair, have difficulty swallowing and eating, and as they near the end of their life, may not even be able to talk, even though their brain is otherwise healthy. Persons with Lou Gehrig's disease will ultimately find themselves trapped inside their bodies. Over a period of several months, Ted slowly declined. He couldn't get to Mass, but was always interested in discussing the readings for the upcoming Sunday during our visits. He seemed less concerned about himself and more concerned about his wife and what was going to happen to her when he was gone. As Ted was nearing the end of his life, he told me that in spite of his disease, he had never felt closer in his relationship with our Lord. And he was actually grateful for the time that he was able to spend in prayer, confined to his wheelchair. And he said that even if he could change things, he wouldn't. The last conversation that we had, he was talking about what would inevitably happen to him. And he said to me, "You know, at least I have some place to go." Ted understood what Jesus is talking about in our gospel today. Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest." Now, the rest that Jesus is talking about here is not a physical rest, but a heavenly rest, a rest for the soul. In other words, Jesus invites us to turn to Him when things are tough, when situations are difficult, or when we are in trouble. Please note what Jesus does not say here. He does not say, "Stick with me and you won't have any burdens." He doesn't say, "If you follow me, your life will be pain-free." Quite the opposite. No, he actually acknowledges that burdens will come our way. But he promises us that he will be with us, and he invites us to put our trust in him, just as he put his trust in God the Father while he was on his cross. When we find ourselves wrestling with a burden that is beyond our strength, it would be wise for us to listen to Jesus' words and take them to heart. "Come to me," he says. "Come to me." In these trying times, he is really the only one who can restore our strength. Only he can quench our thirst. Our Lord also tells us, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me." But by learning, he doesn't simply mean this as an academic exercise like we would learn math or science, but a call to imitate his life and to follow his example of having concern for our brothers and sisters when they are saddled with heavy burdens. Jesus' own life was filled with lifting the burdens of others. He raised the dead, healed the sick, and expelled evil spirits from those who were possessed. Now, we are obviously not able to raise the dead as Jesus did, but we do have the ability to walk with our brothers and sisters, to accompany them, and to give them support and encouragement in difficult times. In light of our Lord's call to imitate him, the corporal works of mercy are a good model for us to consider. Feed the hungry, give drink to the thirsty, shelter the homeless, visit the sick or imprisoned, give alms. With summer half over, putting just one of the corporal works of mercy into practice for the remainder of summer is a good way to respond to Jesus' call this morning. Maybe it looks like skipping that morning latte and donating the money to charity. Maybe it looks like giving blood. Maybe it looks like cooking a meal for a family who is struggling to make ends meet. Of course, these are just some examples. There are many creative ways to put the corporal works of mercy into practice. I also want to encourage you today to take seriously the words of our Lord and ask Him for help with your own struggles and whatever might be weighing you down, whatever might be pressing upon you. The several months I spent with Ted before his death from Lou Gehrig's disease were both difficult and beautiful. As much as I was a minister to him, he was a minister to me. He taught me, by the sweet dignity of his example, what it means for a person to bring his burdens to the Lord, to take up his yoke, to learn from him, and in spite of incredibly difficult circumstances, to find rest in Jesus Christ.